Hi everybody, welcome to our third Wonderland session, broadcasting in tandem on Facebook and Instagram Live. Hello Kelly, how's it going? Welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be doing this Wonderland session, especially because last night while I was sitting in a hospital, we'll talk about that later on, I put up a poll asking whether you guys wanted me to talk about radical self-love today or if you wanted me to talk about love and partnership. And it was a fucking radical self-love landslide. It was a radical self-love landslide. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how we can love ourselves, how we can feel good, and all the Abraham-Hicks stuff I've been learning on the subject, because there's a lot of it and it's juicy and it's beautiful. And I'm really excited to see so many familiar names, Joanna and Regan and Kirsty. Hello everyone. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. So what you told me last night was that you wanted to hear about radical self-love. And that's great. I'm so ready to share with you because over these past 3 or 4 weeks, I guess it's almost been a month now that I have been in Abraham-Hicks' life, in the vortex, making feeling good a priority. As long as I stay in that place and I keep practicing those things, I'm finding that I am so much more comfortable with myself. I'm feeling so good, and I want to share those things with you. I want to share with you what I've been learning about that. So that is what we're going to talk about today. And as always, if you have any questions about this stuff, please do ask. Sometimes they scroll up really quickly and I miss them, and so I apologize in advance if that happens, but I will do my best to answer any of the questions that you have about this. So let's get into it. Radical self-love. Oh my God. So I've been on my own radical self-love journey for almost 12 years. My self-love journey started in 2006 when I finally got sick of having an eating disorder, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. I got to change it up. I discovered tapping, and tapping completely changed my life. My eating disorder disappeared overnight, which sounds insane, but is the truth. And I immediately felt like a different person. It was like this cloud that had been sitting over my head for the past 10 years was suddenly gone. And ever since then, I always tell people I've really just been making up for lost time. I've really just been focusing on like, what can I do to feel better and better and better? Because there's no limit to that. And I remember actually not so long ago going into one of the magic stores around here and going to get a carved candle and saying like, you know, I just want like more love and more happiness and more joy, and you know, and the woman behind the counter was like, oh, well, you know, you don't need more of it necessarily, like there's only so much of it that you can have. And I call bullshit on that. I believe that there are infinite amounts of love and joy and happiness, and we can tap into them all the time. And in fact, the more that we put our attention on the love and joy and happiness that we're already feeling, the better and better things become. It's like the momentum gathers, like a fabulous, glittery snowball. And it all just gets better. So, here's what we're going to talk about with radical self-love. So I get a lot of messages from people who are depressed, a lot of people who are really anxious, a lot of people who are feeling like chronically bad. Feeling bad has become a way of life for them. It's something that they feel every day. It's the way that they wake up. It's the way that they go through their life. It's the way that they interact with their partners and their friends and their family and their workplace. They're just in this place all the time that doesn't feel good. And they feel like, I think a lot of people, especially people who are into spirituality or the new age or healing, really feel like they have to go through this massive transformation in order for them to feel good. Like they have to do all of these things, they have all these criteria they need to hit, and it's really bullshit. There are so many things in our lives right now. Hi. It's my man friend. There are so many things in our lives right now that we can choose to feel good about. And there don't have to be any conditions on those things. We can choose to feel good right now. And that's the biggest thing that I've been learning and practicing over this last month or so, is realizing that it doesn't really matter what the conditions are. I can choose to feel good right now in this moment, and that's completely up to me. And so as long as I'm feeling that way, then I'm really in control of how I'm feeling. I'm in control of how my day goes. I'm in control of the way that I'm interacting with other people and the creativity that I am practicing on a daily basis and just the way that I'm interacting with life. It's totally up to me. I get to control all of that. And so I wrote about 3 weeks ago, I wrote a post about this idea of having a sacred morning practice. And this is really about waking up and putting yourself in a good place as soon as you open your eyes. So a lot of us wake up, we grab our phones because that was what our alarm was on, and we just start scrolling through Instagram, or we start looking at all the emails that came in overnight. And it's not necessarily the most joyful way to wake up, right? We're instantly plunged into everybody else's world. We're looking at what they're doing, where they've been, what they've bought, which fantastic holiday they've been on recently. And it doesn't necessarily make us feel good about ourselves. We need that time in the morning to really set ourselves up so that we can have a positive day. If you get out of bed and you're late and you stumble over things and you can't find your clothes and you can't find your keys and everything's a mess, then obviously your day is going to follow suit. So when you start your day in a positive way, then everything, just like I was saying before, gathers momentum and starts to get better and better and better. But if we don't start that way in the morning, then what positive expectations can we really have for our day? And the idea with this is that when we put ourselves in that place that we feel really good, we have so much control of it that anything else that kind of comes towards us isn't really such a big deal anymore. We're not going to take other people's behavior as personally. We're not going to be so irritated by the person that cuts us off in traffic because we've taken the time to really set ourselves up in a positive way. So you have the ability to feel really good right now. And it's as easy as doing any of the things that I mentioned in the sacred morning practice. So that is like exercise, meditation, having an orgasm, listening to something that's uplifting, having an active gratitude practice, by which I don't just mean like thinking about it. I mean like saying it out loud to someone next to you, saying it into your phone, writing it down, writing it on the wall, writing it in your journal, whatever. These things are really, really important. And Abraham-Hicks talks about this a lot, but Tony Robbins talks about it too. He talks about priming himself in the mornings. And his priming is that he meditates for like 7 minutes or something because he's super efficient and like he just doesn't have time for anything more or whatever. He meditates, he has an active gratitude practice, which I think again is 7 minutes, where he focuses on like 3 different things that he is grateful for, and he focuses on one thing for 3 minutes. Like he really gets into the feeling of gratitude. He really like falls in there and lets it fill his whole body and fill his whole mind. And so when you're in that supercharged place of gratitude, then everything feels really good. And then the last thing he does is he jumps in like a freezing cold plunge pool. And I'm just gonna skip that one because that doesn't sound good to me, but I think there's a really crucial part of setting yourself up in the morning that is about doing something physical. So whether it's going for a walk or exercising or jumping up and down or dancing in your living room, it doesn't really matter what it is, but I feel like you have to incorporate your body in order to make this work. So I think that's a crucial piece that people forget about, is that you have to incorporate your body so that it's not just all the stuff that's living up here. You need to use your whole body to get into this place. So people say to me all the time, like, I just don't feel inspired. Like, I want to go to the gym, but I just can't be bothered. And like, I have all this writing that I thought I would want to do, but I don't feel good about it and I'm not excited. Or like, I'm really bummed out about my relationship. Like, what do I do? And I think the answer to that is that you need to make yourself feel good first. If you feel like shit and you're focusing on all the things that are going wrong and you're obsessing about those things and you're worrying about those things and it's all you're thinking about, how would you ever get up enough inspiration or motivation to do that stuff? You will never feel it. You have to feel good first, and then inspiration will follow. That's where you'll get your power from. When you feel good about what you're doing and you're feeling grateful for your life and you're feeling grateful for your body and you're excited. If you don't have a regular practice of getting into that place, everything is going to feel like drudgery. Everything is going to feel hard. If you wake up and you're like, ugh, it's Monday, fuck Monday. Do you really want to go to the gym? No, you don't. But if you wake up and you're like, this is going to be an amazing week, here are all the things that I'm grateful for. You send a little love note to one of your best friends on your phone or whatever. You're going to feel so joyful and so juiced up that you're going to be ready to do all kinds of things. And I have noticed over the past 4 weeks of me really actively practicing this stuff every morning, I have been so much more productive, so much more creative. I've been a better friend, I've been a better partner, like everything is improving because I'm making myself a priority. And people say radical self-love or self-love is really selfish and like you have to think of other people, but it's like that old thing, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You have nothing to give your family, your friends, your work if you don't feel good first. You literally, it's the most important thing. It has to become the most important thing in your life. And it's really easy to make the switch. You just decide that it's something that you're gonna do. So I was hanging out with my friend Colin yesterday, who is an amazing astrologer. He has an Instagram called Queer Cosmos and also a blog that you should check out. He's great. And I said to him, what do you do when you're not feeling great, but you really want to get into that good feeling place? And he said, I go to YouTube and I load up the Victoria's Secret fashion show and I watch it. And I imagine myself in that show. And I think of myself being Carly Kloss. And I think about how good it would feel to like be in that situation and owning that. And I bring that energy into where I am. And I feel amazing. And I love that. That was so good. I posted it on my Instagram story, and then I had a girl message me and said, oh, I do the same thing, but I watch like videos of like Bikini Kill or Fleetwood Mac or really badass female bands because I can get like their energy fuels me as well. It reminds me that anything is possible. It reminds me that I can be like as cool and awesome as I want to be, and it gives me that power. It like fuels me. And so we all have these different ways of getting into that place. So whether it's watching a Victoria's Secret fashion show, whether it's practicing your dance moves, whether it's listening to bands or watching bands on YouTube and getting fired up by what they're doing, it doesn't matter what it is. You just have to have a practice that feels really good for you and make it a non-negotiable. So I had somebody recently say to me, what do you do when you have like a morning practice but you wake up late or you kind of get thrown off track? What do you do in that situation? What's the solution? Because she said that when she misses her morning practice, she then just kind of is thrown off all day and she doesn't feel good and she doesn't know how to get back to that place of feeling really good. And the answer is that you can do these things anytime you want. You can be walking down the street making a gratitude list. You can be on the bus meditating with your headphones on, doing like a guided meditation off of YouTube. There are like hundreds. They're so good. You can go to your bathroom at work and sit there for 5 minutes and just be silent. Let your mind be empty. And doing all of these things will give you a chance to like get back to the core of who you really are. Because I feel like this morning practice is a way of establishing yourself, reminding yourself of who you are, reminding yourself of everything you can do, everything you can create, and all the amazing blessings in your life. And when you have that foundation, nothing else can really knock you around as much. I mean, things are probably going to throw you from time to time because you're human and that's normal, but it won't happen as much. You won't be as reactive and you won't take things as personally. So I have to say this is a work and practice, right? I take things personally all the time. I took things personally last night, this morning, and this afternoon. But I realized I was doing it, and when you realize that you're doing it, you can stop yourself. So once you have this morning practice and you're really comfortable getting into that place where you feel really good, if you get knocked out, you remember that you can come back really easily and that it's like safe to go back there and you can do it in an instant. It's not difficult. It's not hard. It's something you can do whenever you want. So that brings me to my next point on my list of notes, because you know how I like to make notes, which says, catch yourself. Having the awareness of your thoughts is really so big. And so when you notice that you're thinking a thought or you're talking about something that doesn't make you feel good, that makes you feel anxious, that makes you feel stressed, depressed, worried, whatever, just fucking stop. You don't have to follow that track. And this is about creating a new neural pathway for yourself. So we all have these neural pathways in our brain, which is a way that we go that's comfortable and safe. And it's an old groove of a thought that we're used to thinking. We think it every single day. It's super comfortable. It's like driving on a 6-lane freeway. It's paved. You can like put your foot on the gas and you can just go. It's so easy. You don't even have to think about it. But a lot of these neural pathways that we have are not healthy. They're not productive. They get us stuck in a place of processing or doubt or dwelling on things and not really moving forward or feeling good. And so when we can catch ourselves having a thought that we're like, oh wait, this doesn't feel good. This isn't a thought that I need or want to gather any more momentum. Like, I really need to be done with this thought right now. You can then notice the thought and switch the track. So it's like turning off onto a gravel road. It's a little bit tricky the first time you do it. You won't be well practiced at it, so it will feel much harder to choose a thought that feels good rather than continue on the negative track that you're used to, but it is so worth it. And the more that you practice doing that, again, the easier it becomes and the more you'll be able to do it. But really, it's about those things that like you don't want to create or you don't want to bring more attention to or give more energy to in your life. Don't allow those thoughts to gather any momentum, because you know what happens when you think a shitty thought. You just keep thinking shitty thoughts. They don't get any better. And so it's really important that we can start to notice when we're doing it and just stop ourselves. And not beat ourselves up for doing it. We're human. We are all going to do this. But just noticing it and being like, hey, let's think about something else. Let's think about how cute that dog is. Let's think about the trees changing color. Let's think about this creative project that I want to work on next. It doesn't matter what it is. Start with something that's really easy for you to think about and feel good about and just go there. So this is another follow-on from that is very pertinent. And this applies to your life, your relationships, your everything. And I love this. This is such a good tip. If you know the answer will make you feel bad, don't ask the question. I love that. I love that so much, because so often when we feel bad, we desperately want to uncover the truth, or we want to follow that thought and we want to figure out more about it. But the truth of the matter is that when we don't feel good, we will just keep digging an endless hole of misery. Have you ever noticed that when you feel bad and you start a conversation and you start asking questions and you know it's not going to go well, but you cannot help yourself? Does it ever get any better? No. Do you ever figure anything out? No. Do you end up saying hurtful shit? Yes. Do you end up having a fucking horrible time and then thinking like, wow, I wish I'd never said that? Yes. So, when you're feeling bad, don't go chasing that feeling. Don't go following that thought, because you already know at whatever age you are, whether you're 15, 25, 35, or 79, you already know where it's going, and you don't have to go there. It's optional. So why torture yourself? You don't have to torture yourself. And I think that's a really big part of this, is like, we get to choose our thoughts all the time. Even when we think we don't get to, it's total bullshit. We're always in control of our thoughts. We always have the option of choosing a new one, and you can choose one right now. If you're not feeling good, choose something else. Choose something else. And another one with that is like the idea of talking about our problems, right? I don't know if you've ever noticed this. Have you ever noticed that the more that you talk about your problems, the bigger and bigger they become? And yet, if you focus on what's going well in your life, and you can practice appreciation, and you can practice feeling really good, things just start to resolve around you. Things just start to line up and work, which is not to say that you never have to make any effort, or you don't have to make that phone call or send that email. But things tend to work so much better when you start from a place of feeling good. Everything is easier. There's positive momentum. There's less barriers of bullshit. Like, things are just easier. So why not do ourselves a favor and start by feeling good and then take action from there. And that's why this sacred morning practice is so important. Make yourself feel good first, then act, then do things, and see the difference. So another one of these is to find the feeling and let the thoughts follow. So don't let your thoughts dictate everything, because your mind is automatically going to go to some of those negative places, because we're human. That's what we do. We're trained to look for fears and find faults and find problems. We love problems to solve. This is what humans do. But if you can make an effort to make yourself feel good first, gratitude, meditation, working out, dancing, whatever, Victoria's Secret fashion show, make an effort to make yourself feel good first, and then let the thoughts follow on from there. Let the feelings that you have inspire your action, and then let everything follow from there. And if you get thrown off, which like I said, you will get thrown off, just come back. It's cool. We're waiting for you here in the place that feels really good. You can come back here anytime you want. You don't even have to knock. You just walk on in. You're welcome every time. Another one that I loved that I heard today, actually, when I was listening to some Abraham-Hicks, was they were talking about this idea that affirmations don't really work. And the reason that they don't really work is because we're just saying these words, but we feel like shit. So there's no resonance. There's no alignment there. There's no point in saying something that you don't mean. It's like if you met someone and 2 seconds later you were like, oh, I love you so much. You can say it until you're blue in the face, but that doesn't make it real. It doesn't make it true. So the idea is that affirmations are very powerful. They can really work. You can really give yourself a new vocabulary and train yourself in new ways. But you need to feel good first. So the idea is that you say your affirmations from inside the vortex. Love it. So wake up in the morning, do your sacred morning practice, feel really good. Fuel yourself up. You could do a mirror work, which is what Louise Hay always used to talk about, where she would, I don't know if you know much about Louise Hay. I'm just going to give you a very brief history lesson. Louise Hay started her career actually by dealing with men who had HIV and AIDS in the Bay Area who had been recently diagnosed, and nobody would talk to them. Nobody wanted anything to do with them. People were afraid. They didn't understand. And Louise Hay would spend time with these men and do these huge groups where she would talk to them about loving themselves unconditionally, being good to themselves no matter what. And she would have them look in a mirror and say to themselves, I love you, which is so hard to do the first time you do it. I don't know if you've ever tried this. It's really challenging. But the more that you do it, the better that you feel. And so that could be part of your sacred morning practice as well. You wake up, you meditate, you do some gratitude, maybe you just do some journaling. While you're putting your eyeliner on, you're like, I love you, you're a bad bitch. And you say it while you're feeling good, and it superpowers it. It supercharges it, and it feels so good. And this is really what radical self-love is all about. Radical self-love is about feeling good. And people say things like, oh, you know, just about like taking bubble baths and like that doesn't change your life and it's just selfish and it's self-indulgent. But it's not. Because when you do whatever it takes to make you feel good, and maybe that is a bubble bath, who the fuck cares? Why judge what makes somebody feel good? If doing that makes you feel good, then everything else will follow on from there. You will feel inspired to create things. You will feel inspired to do the right thing in your life. You'll feel inspired to like take action and be creative and be the person that you know that you can be and bring your best self to every interaction. But if you walk around feeling like you just pooed your pants, nothing good is going to happen, and there are going to be no positive interactions, and people are going to be weird to you and dismissive, and things aren't going to work, and your computer is going to break, and all of that stuff. That's what's going to happen. So really, it's all about how are you feeling, and you can tell how you're feeling based on what's happening in your life. Look at your life. If your life is a shit show right now, you're probably not making a practice of trying to feel good on a regular basis. You're probably just going to that place where everything sucks and you like to moan about it. It's really that simple. Alyssa said, Gal, I've been following your advice and I've been doing awesome, so thank you. That's great. I'm so happy to hear that. It's really been working for me too, and I'm really excited to share it with you guys, so I'm glad that that's working. Barbie Devastation said, self-love has made my relationship with my husband and parents 1,000,000,000 times better. That's really good. Sabrina says, I've been having a super stressful day and been worrying about stuff, and your advice has really helped. I'm just going to stop with my own bullshit and do something constructive. Yeah. So there's the crucial part of that is like not beating yourself up for your own bullshit, right? Because we all do it. You know, I was like doing it most of the day, and then I was like, you know, this is not working. And the great thing about it is that feeling good feels really good. So it's such a no-brainer. Why would you not want to feel good? Why would you be like committed to your misery? Who wants that? I don't want that. I don't. And sometimes I think we feel like we need to be committed to our misery because it makes us right, or it gives us a point to prove or some shit. But who cares? Honestly, the most important thing is that we feel good, and it will have a ripple effect on everything. We'll treat everybody completely differently, and then in turn our lives will feel so much better. Ballerina says, these Wonderland talks are life-changing, completely changed my relationship when I started feeling good first. Everyone mirrors it back to me throughout the day. Exactly my point. And that's the thing as well, is that when we make an effort to feel good and we put ourselves in that place where we're feeling really good on purpose, everyone around us will either join us there or go away. It's really that simple. They will either join you in that place, or they'll excuse themselves and they'll go somewhere else. And it's great either way. It doesn't even matter what they do. The idea is that feeling good feels so good that everybody else's behavior is completely inconsequential, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Simply Scorching says, I'm trying to get me time after my son goes to bed. It still feels weird doing things for myself. I'm starting to make jewelry again. Right, so I think the most important thing is just your first priority is making yourself feel good. It doesn't matter like whether you're making jewelry or not. The jewelry can like come later. The most important thing is that you're meditating, or you're gratitude listing, or you're exercising, or you're just doing whatever it takes to get you into that good place. And then you'll feel so good you'll be making jewelry all night long. But you have to feel good first. So stop thinking that like, oh, when I do this thing then I'll feel good. That's not how it works. And if you do that thing hoping that it will make you feel good, it probably won't make you feel as good as you thought it would. And then you're like, why am I doing this? And then you'll have an existential crisis. But if you feel good first, everything that follows on from there and everything that you do next will feel amazing. And so it doesn't even matter what you're doing. You'll just feel good regardless. And so that's some good shit. And that is radical self-love in action. And there are so many more pieces to radical self-love. I wrote a book on it, which you can still buy. It's at galadarling.com/book. You can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, whatever. It's everywhere. But yeah, you can buy the book, and there's so much in there. But this feeling good piece is really, really crucial. It's a really big piece of this. Yeah, so that's important. And I think it's the most valuable, applicable piece of advice I've ever heard or read or been given, is just this idea of making it a regular thing. And, you know, for me, listening to Abraham-Hicks every day really, really helps me. I listen to it when I'm, like, walking the dog, or when I'm going to the coffee shop, or while I'm doing my makeup. I really am not even listening to a lot of music anymore. I'm either, like, watching something on TV or I'm listening to Abraham, because every time that I do, I'm learning something new. It's, like, filling me up. It's making me feel really good. I'm making notes about it, and then I'm doing what I can to implement it as often as I can. And I had the most amazing weekend just focusing on making myself feel good. And I had a couple of moments where I wobbled, you know, but mostly I felt really good. And it's actually so simple. You just make that your priority. And it's really great. So I loved it. Nakia Marie said, I needed this today. I'm getting ready to go to a wedding, and I know my family will pick on my weight, but I'm such an amazing person regardless of size. Absolutely. So anytime you're about to go and do something that you're a little bit nervous or anxious about, I had a meeting with a friend yesterday who was going to a really important meeting after they saw me, and I said, you know, the most important thing is that you feel really good going into this meeting. Like, pump yourself up, feel really good in your body, do whatever you have to do that. And so if you're going to this wedding, for example, before you get out of the car, you know, do your gratitude list, do some meditation, listen to a talk about something that makes you feel really inspired and really good, so that you can walk in there feeling really powerful and really positive. You can go in there feeling in alignment with yourself, rather than being like, oh, you know, like, what are they going to say? And, you know, it's important that you can, like, stand strong in where you're at. It's a really, really vital piece of the puzzle. Lynn Thenny Rain said, your book is the shit and the Wonderland sessions are reaffirming my experiences with it so far. Thank you. I can see my lifestyle shifting. Beautiful. That's what this is all about. I'm so into practicality, and if it can't be applied and if it doesn't work, then I'm really not interested. And honestly, this is the thing that has helped me the most out of anything. Like, tapping is an amazing tool, but just choosing to feel good is so easy that it really helps to shift your whole life. And I'm really passionate and excited about sharing it, which is why I'm doing these sessions. So we have 3 more to go. We're halfway through. So if there's anything that you would like me to address in the following 3 sessions, whether it's like creativity or who knows, anything you like, you are welcome to drop me a note. You can DM me on Instagram and tell me what you'd like to hear about, and I will do some research and I'll put something together for you. Hosted with Love said, are the Wonderland sessions saved on YouTube? I would love to be able to catch up. Yes, they are. I post them either the day of or the day after on my YouTube channel, which is just Gala Darling. So the previous 2 are already on there, and all the rest will be on there once this is done. So you can watch them whenever you like. Okay, guys, that's it. Half an hour. We went really big on this. Oh, Barbie Devastation said, how can you help someone you know would benefit from this get into it? So that's a really good question. And the answer is that you cannot change how anyone else feels. You're not responsible for getting them into a certain school of thought or inspiring them to do anything. You cannot do that. If somebody else is depressed or anxious, you cannot change that. That's something that they have to change themselves, right? However, I always feel like the best thing that we can do is set a positive example. So if you're really living positively, you're practicing this stuff, you're making an effort to feel good every day, maybe they'll learn from your example and they'll ask you, like, why are you so happy all the time now? What are you doing? And really wait for them to come to you. There's no point in preaching or being evangelical about things like this, because honestly, most people don't want to hear it. They're really committed to their suffering. That's where they want to be, and that's cool. They're not into this yet, and that's fine. And some people will never be ready for it. And that's fine. We have to accept people where they are and stop wishing that they were something else, because we can never control what other people do, and we can never control how they feel. But if they come to you, then of course you can tell them what you're doing. Absolutely. Queen Daydream said, would it be weird to just give them a copy of your book, or is that too much? I mean, you could, but I've found, like, you know, if you give someone a copy of a book that they don't want to read, they're just not going to read it. You know what I mean? So it's really up to you. It doesn't matter. Like, you can do that if you want to, but you don't have to. I think the most important thing is to focus on feeling good yourself, and you will hopefully pick up the people around you. But if you don't, that's not your problem, and it's not your fault. Everybody is responsible for their own joy, their own happiness, and their own energy. You can't take that on. It's just not your job. It's just not your job. You have to work on your own stuff. And working on your own stuff is a full-time job. So yeah. Okay. So that's what we've got today. I hope that you enjoyed our session. I feel like I went through that very quickly, but I hope that it was useful. If you want to, I always do this when I listen to things, I listen to them again and I make notes, and that way I can really, like, make sure it's cemented in my mind. You might want to give that a try. But you're awesome. Thank you for joining me here today. I will be back the same time next week, 2 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday afternoon. I love doing these. So much fun. All right, bye guys.